So, Coach, what's your first impression so far?
Man, I've really excited. I mean, I think when you get a bunch of new players, you obviously worry about the continuity of the team. Just because you got a lot of new players, but Coach has done a great job. That's one of his things is, he creates an environment for these guys all to figure out that we got to be a team first before we can. We got a lot of great athletes. Offensively, we look faster. Our offensive line, they're better. Our young guys are way better, and it's going to add depth. And then defensively, they got a lot of new guys that are, up front. They got some big dudes that can run. They got some new secondary guys that are covering pretty good. So it's fun out there watching them. The biggest thing is, I don't care how talented you are, you got to put those guys together. And I think Coach McGuire and the rest of the guys, they've done a good job of understanding that, you still got to come together as a team first.
What's your kicking competition look like right now?
That's you got Stones. Obviously, he has a huge leg. Unfortunately, it's like a motorboat with a broken rudder because he can hammer it, and I love it. He's just got to figure out a way to kind of tone it down sometime. And then Upton, Upton's he's at Alabama, he's at Buffalo. He's kicked. He was a good kicker last year, but spring ball, as you guys have seen, we put a lot of pressure, and we've come. Every year it seems like we've had a battle and someone finds a way to be successful for us in the year. So hopefully the same thing happens. Jack's back punt wise, he started the year not very good, and then he finished, after probably game 4 to end, really, really good. So still got to find get another punter in here, which that's what we're going to try to do. Just because just number wise, you got to have 2 guys in each spot, and then snapping wise. Jace Llewellyn's been great. Ryland's great. So we've got some competition there, which is really exciting because you got to have 2 guys. I mean, you guys seen, we lost Jackson Knotts with a knee injury, and you got to have another guy ready because you damn sure don't want to lose a game on a bad snap. So it's been fun. They're a good group of guys.
So you're looking to pull in somebody from the transfer portal at the punter position rather than have
maybe it could even be a high school kid. It's just we just right now, unless one of those other guys can figure it out. It's tough to punt. It's just one of those deals that I don't think there's very many good punters. What I'm saying that is, everyone grew up and you had 15 guys in junior high. You got on line, you could kick it farther, and then it kind of weeded themselves out through high school, and you found a guy. It's just everybody rugby punts now, and I don't love doing that, but if that's what we got, that's what we got to do. So, but we'll be good. We got to also coverage helps on that too. So
Obviously, you don't just replace Dre McCray. I mean, that's almost impossible.
No, but we do have Jacoby. Jacoby ended up last year being a heck of a weapon back there. So, and then Reggie Virgil, he's one. And Oliver Miles, we're going to have guys. That's the good part about that. We're going to have some return guys. And Jacoby last year, he was really hard to. He broke some during the season that could have gone. So yeah, but obviously losing Dre, we got to find somebody else. We got to find a punt returner. More important than anything, that's one thing that we were not very good at, and that's one of our goals this spring. Is we had 2 years ago we were pretty good. Last year we were not very good, and then that obviously has to do with some guys up front. Find some guys that can hold people up. That'll help because I think we've got with Bryce Pollock's been pretty good. He did it at Mississippi State, and then some of the guys are going to be better. Oliver Miles is going to be better doing that. Just guys that's done it. Jordan Sanford, he's done it for 2 years. So we're going to be better. There's no doubt about it. Just more guys you learn to play at that spot, the better you're going to be.
You talk about finding the guy, and there's no one who is bigger on being the Taj Brooks cheerleader.
Yeah.
Who's the player that has your attention and that we need to be talking about?
Gosh, I don't. I've liked it. Honestly, right now this early, I'm always going to. Cam Dickey and Jacoby are like those 2 guys last year for what they did as freshmen. I think you're going to see them blossom and help me in the special teams world, from returns to coverage. Reggie Virgil, same thing. That guy can run. He's fast. And then some of the, like I said, Oliver Miles. He did a lot of stuff for us last year. John Curry. John Curry's. I think he's turned out to be one of my favorite players. And then you've got the staple. Wesley Smith, I think he's one of the best in the Big 12. Honestly, as a special teams player, he's done. Chief Collins, He's led our team in tackles. You know, people, no one even knows who Chief Collins is. 2 years ago, they're like, who the hell's Chief Collins? And he goes out there and he's got 5 or 6 tackles a year. So that's kind of where I'm at with everything. You just don't know who it is, but you know, you've got great players that are going to be expected to make plays.
So what makes John Curry so special to you?
Smart football player, and he lays it all on the line, and he loves Texas Tech. That's the thing, you know, you can just see it when he goes out there and play. He loves playing. He gives you everything he got, and it's all about Texas Tech. And I love that, man, because that's really, if you think about it, that's what Texas Tech has always prided itself on. You know, I don't care how much we spend on the portal and all that. Kids that have come here and played, they love playing for Texas Tech, and the fans here have loved them because of that. So I think that's important. I mean, you got to love playing, you know, where you're at. And we got a great fan base. Lubbock's a great place, and those guys, like I said, even the new guys, they love it here, and they're going to see, you know, on Saturday exactly what it's about. So I'm excited for that.
You have Jacoby and Cam that you mentioned, Quentin Joyner,
Yep.
Cameron Valdez when he gets healthy. All 4 of those guys have shown they can play at this level, but nobody's had time
To do it.
to be a big time guy. How do you think that? What's your thought on how that room is most likely to shake out?
I think Garrett's done an unbelievable job with those guys all. The way he's mixed and matched them, you know, just through getting here the install period and watching them practice. He's done a great job. They've all got something they can do. And then Mac left, which, you know, we lost the Wizard, but we've got the next West Texas touchdown club guy that's going to figure out a way to score points. He's done a good job using those guys. So I think you're going to just figure out that those guys they'll feed into each other, and they're going to be successful. I mean, you see the athleticism. You know, Taj is first. You know, Taj is a great player, and I kept saying to you got no one here listened to me until, you know, you finally started. I kept saying it over and over, and then you finally started listening to me. But those guys are going to be good. I'm just telling you, with young players, the way that they move, and the way that their care factor is unbelievable. So that's why I just think that after this off season, you're going to see somebody in that group that's going to jump forward and go, yeah, you're right. Those guys can do it.
So, which I was about to ask you, is it more realistic that one of those guys becomes the guy and rushes for 1,200 yards, or is it more realistic that 2 or 3 of them kind of have similar stats?
I think that you're going to see them similar. I think the way that Max used them so far, they're all going to have a role. Now, obviously, one of the things is one of those guys gets hot, you're going to ride one of those. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of one of the happens to running back. But I think with those guys, they're all going to have some type of role, and they're going to have big roles for me. I think that Cam Dickey can do a lot of things return-wise that last year he didn't really get a chance to do. I think he's going to get that opportunity. Jacoby, I know, can do it. Quentin Joyner, I know, can do some stuff just because he can move, he can run. So
to have a role, obviously, you need having a particular skill helps. So which of those guys is like a best receiving back, and which is the best pass blocking back?
I think Jacoby out of the backfield, he proved that he could do that. However, I mean, if you remember early, Dickey he scored some touchdowns out of the backfield. I think Jacoby has got that skill set where he can play some slot and he can play running back. Quentin I think he's really versatile. Dickey is kind of the whole package of everybody. He's probably the closest to Taj just because of body size and the way he runs. So, yeah.
And if it's 3rd and 8, which guy do you want in the backfield to pick up the blitz, like Taj picked up the blitz?
Yeah, I think last year that was what I was worried about with Jacoby, but he showed that he could block. Quentin can do that. He's done it at this level, and obviously Cam Dickey, he's a physical. That's probably his biggest strength, his physicality. So, I think that'll kind of weed itself out this spring where, you might be right. It might be a situation where, some of those guys out of the backfield, it might be it might be Cam Dickey out of the backfield and Quentin blocking, or it might be Cam blocking Jacoby out of the backfield. But they all can do something. That's what I mean. I'm dead serious. Those guys all have a trait that you want as a college athlete.
Anything else?
Not being directly over running backs anymore, I guess how much has that, if at all, allowed you to be a bit everywhere?
It's been good. I enjoyed. I'm definitely not as busy as I was. Just kind of. I don't want to say. I've got to see more that I did. Especially defensively, just in the off season. I've got to go over and watch them. I was a defensive guy for 28 years of my life. But, you know, I love going and watching what our offense is doing right now just to use it. And then, you know, being with the specialists, which I didn't get to do much, you know, as far as just individual stuff has been really good, you know, getting to be with those guys because we got a lot of work to do with it there. So it's been different, to say the least. But, you know, we got a good football team. I love our coaches, good coaching staff. Really like our guys.